Hey everyone, welcome into another HawgBeat chat. I'm Andrew Hutchinson, the senior staff writer over at HawgBeat.com, the Arkansas site in the Rivals Network. The end of college baseball's regular season is upon us, and the Diamond Hogs are inching closer and closer to an SEC West and overall SEC title. Standing in their way, though, is yet another top 10 team in the Florida Gators. Much like the last few weekends, I wanted to give you all some insight on the upcoming opponent from someone who covers the team on a regular basis. And no one does that better at Florida quite like Nick De La Torre. He is a writer over at GatorsTerritory, the Florida site in our network, and I'm thrilled to have him on with us today. Thanks for taking some time to talk, Nick. It's kind of crazy to believe that we're already here in Week 10 of the SEC season, huh?
Yeah, it's wild. I remember leaving Florida Ballpark last Sunday and thinking, man, that's because sometimes the season seems like it's so long. 50-something games is a long time. And I was like, can't believe this is the last home game for Florida, at the new ballpark. So it's a lot of games, but it definitely flies by.
For sure. And before we jump into this upcoming series, which is a big one, could you maybe kind of give us a snapshot of Florida's season so far? I know they start out, they were preseason number one by basically everybody, slipped up along the way, but here they are back to the top 10 and surging.
Yeah, it's been interesting. So I mean, this is my ninth season covering, and I think it's probably the most tinkering I've seen Kevin O'Sullivan do when you're talking about getting into April and May. I mean, just the Friday night starter has been changed 2 times, 3 times now during the year, going back to what it originally was. Changing the lineup. I used to, as you cover the Hogs, like I cover the Gators. You can get to a ballpark and like, hey, I know what the lineup's going to be, and you can fill out your scorecard. I haven't had that luxury this year. It seems like every, whether it's Tuesday or Saturday, I'm getting to the ballpark and I don't know who's going to play. So I think that's kind of been maybe a frustrating part for Kevin O'Sullivan is just the expectations that we had in the media weren't just ours alone. Like, I mean, Florida was picked by 13 of the 14 coaches to win the SEC, and it probably would have been 14 if you could pick your own team because Kevin O'Sullivan had to pick somebody else other than Florida. So it wasn't just, us in the media. I think it was generally considered Florida was going to be really good. And then, you lose your very first weekend to Miami, who's a rival. And they've just kind of been trying to figure out answers and just haven't gotten, I guess, the production that you expected from guys, a Judd Fabian who's coming back now, tied for the lead in the SEC with home runs, but a guy who's also was leading the country in strikeouts at some points of the season. So it's just been a weird year trying to work around slumps and find the right mix and match for guys. And they're starting to play their best baseball now, which I guess is what you would want if you're Kevin O'Sullivan.
And you kind of mentioned, tinkering with things. What's that weekend rotation look like right now? Or do you even know kind of what it's going to look like for this
Yeah.
weekend?
Yeah. So Tommy Mace is back on Friday nights or Thursday night this week. He'll pitch Thursday. Hunter Barker, who's been the Sunday guy all year, he got slotted up a day, so he'll pitch Saturday. Really talented lefty. He's a guy who his ceiling and his projectables might make him an early first round pick next year. He's only a sophomore, not draft eligible yet, but the 22 drafts, he's a guy that's highly thought of. And then I think they're going to stick with Franco Alaman. He's a guy who 6'6" is topped out at 99 in the gun this year. They wanted him to close out games, and he had a lot of blown saves and blown opportunities in that role. So they thought, okay, maybe he just doesn't have the makeup to come out of the bullpen. And it's when he gets on the mound, it's kind of like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and we're left saying which Franco's going to show up today. And last Sunday against I can't remember who they played. Last Sunday, he goes out and struggles a little bit in the first, has a blow up second inning, and then it's just lights out. And you're just like, what? There's always a blow up inning with him where he gives up 4 or 5. And he dropped to 1-3 on the year. And you just look at his stuff and his height and how hard he throws. And I mean, his two seamers got like 10 inches of run and he throws at 95. And you just wonder, how is he getting hit? He just gets hit a lot. He doesn't miss a lot of bats. So I think he's going to pitch the last game. But Florida's lost the last 3 times that he's towed the rubber. So if there's anywhere to change it, I think that would be it. But Jack Leftwich, who was the Saturday starter to begin the year, is really fitting into that closer role. And kind of like Cops is a guy who, as a starter, you can kind of extend him. So they're comfortable bringing Jack into the 6th inning of a close game and riding him the rest of the way. So do you want to hurt your bullpen by taking that out to put him back in a starting role? That's going to be the question for Kevin O'Sullivan on Saturday this week.
That kind of leads me into my next question, which was about the bullpen. Who are the top arms there? I mean, if Arkansas has Kevin Kopps, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned Leftwich there. Is he kind of the guy that O'Sullivan will kind of turn to in a tight spot, second half of the game?
Yeah.
And who else is there?
We were actually joking about it. There's really 3 guys that pitch out of the bullpen now. You've got Christian Scott, who's I think a guy going to be drafted in the top 5 rounds. Really nasty slider. He topped out at 98 last weekend. So definitely no arm fatigue, despite having, leading the team in appearances. And then a left-hander and Trey Vanderweed, who was a graduate senior last year. So now he's still a graduate senior. But I joke that, in the SEC, you don't get a lot of seniors. And now you've got a guy who graduated college 2 years ago who's still pitching for Florida. So that's interesting. But outside of that, if the game is close, it's going to be one of those 3 guys out of the bullpen. And Scott and Leftwich are both starters. So that's kind of why you can get away with it. You can stretch them 3-4 innings at a time. And then Vanderweed started the year as a guy that really only pitched to lefties, and I think he's proven to the coaching staff that, hey, I can get righties out as well, so they can stretch him out a little bit. But it's really, after the starting pitchers, it's really just a Leftwich, Scott, Vanderweed mix.
Gotcha. And it seems like every year Florida's got a slugger of some kind, and it looks like Judd Fabian's the guy you mentioned earlier. He's up to 20 home runs this year. I was looking at it. It looks like he's got multiple home runs in each of the last 4 SEC series. So is he really kind of starting to heat up? Is he a guy that Arkansas is going to have to really worry about this weekend?
Yeah, he's a guy coming into the year that was thought of as maybe the best college bat in the country. And he enrolled at Florida early, skipped his senior year. So he's not only was thought of as one of the best bats, he's, I think, the youngest draft eligible college player in the draft this year. So he came in with a ton of expectations. And I think a slow start in that Miami series kind of got to his head, because I think we forget at the end of the day, they're 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, and they know, hey, this is my money year. And I think once he started to struggle a little bit, he started pressing. He's really changed his approach. He used to have a really big leg kick and load. Now when he gets to 2 strikes, he's widening out and there's no leg kick at all. He's really trying to cut down on the strikeouts because he's up over 60 on the year, which is a lot. Almost becoming like a true, 3 outcome guy where it's either a home run, pop up, or strikeout. But he's a really fun player to watch. He's really, really good in the outfield, runs really well, throws really well. And the power numbers obviously are there, and he's not going to be overpowered by much. He's a big league ball player, just biding his time. And then another guy I think that is struggling right now, but used to lead Florida in hitting, is Nathan Hickey. And I think he's not a guy that is going to be a catcher at the next level, but because of an injury has had to catch pretty much all 51 games. And I think you're seeing with he was 0 for 13 at the plate last weekend. I think you're seeing some of that fatigue start to come in. But I comp him to like Max Muncy with the Dodgers, just really elite vision at the plate. He's going to walk more than he strikes out. And those 3 guys at the top with Jacob Young, Judd Fabian, and Nathan Hickey are really the core of Florida's batting order right there.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the lineup as a whole too. I mean, what kind of style does Florida play offensively? Do they rely on the long ball? Do they play small ball, or what's that look like this year?
Florida so they have a guy, Corey Acton, who really wasn't playing until he got a pinch hit RBI that in the 9th inning with 2 outs at Kentucky that tied the game in the 9th, and Florida went on to win that. And now he's been in the starting lineup since. He dropped a sacrifice bunt last weekend, and I joked, and I don't know if I was actually joking. It might have been the first one that Florida had all year. They've got a ton of sacrifice flies, but no, Florida's not a station-to-station team. They're not going to bunt. They're not going to hit and run a lot. They rely on the extra base hit and the home run. And they don't steal bases. They don't really try to. They're not going to bunt guys over. They rely a lot on the big fly.
And it looks like Florida's kind of struggled on the road this year. And, Arkansas is opening up Baum-Walker Stadium to full capacity this weekend. Is there something to the road struggles with Florida? I mean, what do you think goes into them struggling away from Gainesville?
Yeah, I mean, there weren't many games. They're 7-9 away from home. So, really only 16 road games of 54. Florida's always, under Kevin O'Sullivan, has always kind of historically struggled that first weekend. And I think right now, if you're a Florida fan, you're looking at, well, can the Gators still win the SEC? And well, now you have to start thinking about, well, if you would have just won one game in Columbia, if you wouldn't have lost the first two in devastating fashion in Knoxville, and maybe took a series in Knoxville, you're only one game behind instead of two games behind, and you can basically just sweep Arkansas. So yeah, there's just been a historic bad first weekend, and they get swept in Columbia. And South Carolina's kind of coming on now, but at the time they weren't a very good ball club, and Florida really just faltered that weekend. So there's definitely something to it. Florida's lost, been close with teams like JU on the road this year. So yeah, there's just something about it. And at this point of the season, there's no excuse. You don't have freshmen on the team anymore. You've played 50-something ball games. There's no, hey, we took a bunch of freshmen on the road. So, but yeah, it's not gonna be an easy place to play. It's a really smart baseball fan base that Arkansas has, and I'm sure they're excited to get a top 10 matchup there at home. So it's not gonna be an easy place to play for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And that's all I have for you, Nick. Before I let everyone go, I just want to remind everyone that Hog Beats baseball coverage this year has been brought to you by CJ's Butcher Boy Burgers, with locations in Russellville and Fayetteville. It's a great spot to grab food before and after games, or frankly, any day of the week, really. It's a favorite spot for me and my family, and I know you'll enjoy it too, so go check them out. And as a reminder, the games this weekend are Thursday, Friday, Saturday, in anticipation of the SEC tournament next week. The first two of those games are going to be on the SEC network. Should be a really, really fun series. I'm thankful for Nick for giving us some insight on it, and look forward to catching up soon. Maybe the time Omaha rolls around.
Oh, I wore my hat just for you today, from 2018. I got with 2017 one somewhere too.
Sounds good. Well, hopefully, if they both end up in Omaha, we'll have to do this again.
Absolutely.